Alright guys, taking a little break from the Friday series for this video to do this movie, which I own this on Amazon and completely forgot I did. And I was scanning through Amazon yesterday and I saw it and I said, holy shit, I gotta fucking talk about this movie. Because I adore this movie. Like, when I saw You're Next, which is excellent, love You're Next, and heard that Adam Wingard was doing another movie after that, and heard about this movie coming out, The Guest, I was so excited to see his next movie. And this was like the biggest surprise of 2014 for me. Like, the best film of that year for me. Like, it's not really a horror film, like, it's more like a action thriller, but man, this movie is so fucking good. It is so brutal at times. Like, let's talk about 2014's The Guest. We got Maika Monroe in here, who's in It Follows, and gorgeous as always. We have Dan Stevens, who's the main antagonist in this movie. We have Leland Orser, who I will always remember from the dark comedy of Very Bad Things, which, if anyone hasn't seen Very Bad Things, absolutely see that movie. Like, that is a favorite movie of mine. Like, it is hilarious. Like, dark humor throughout. Such a great movie. Absolutely see that if you haven't seen it. And we have Lance Reddick in here from The Wire and so many other things that he's been in. And just the way that this movie opens, like with David running, and then just the title card, The Guest, just comes up. It's awesome beginning to this movie. Dan Stevens' performance in this movie is fucking amazing. Like, when I first saw this movie, I never saw him in anything. So this blew me away when I saw his performance in this movie. He is so charming and so genuine, but on the drop of a fucking hat can change to just menacing and just like evil. Dude, his performance in this movie is absolutely unreal. Like, one of the best performances of the 2010s for me. Like, and a scene in here, one of my favorite scenes of that decade also. Like, I adore this fucking movie, man. Like, I'll be gushing about this shit. Okay, so we have, anyone who hasn't seen it, I'll give a little short synopsis and stuff. But we have David Collins is a discharged soldier who ends up coming home to Maika Monroe's family, the Petersons, to pay respect to her brother, Caleb, who died in Afghanistan, and claims to be like his friend, his best friend, and wants to help the family out. And it ends up that he's not exactly who he says he is. That's basically all I can say. If you haven't seen this movie, absolutely see this movie. Like, you will not regret it. Like, such a great movie. So we got spoilers now. We have David showing up at the house, the Petersons, and just that whole thing's got to be so hard, of just losing your son or your brother in the war and stuff, then having his supposed friend come home to your house, and just like having that constant reminder of your son, like, and just having like a piece of him there, just knowing that, or thinking that this is his friend, which I'll get into the whole whether the whole story is true, what David says, like a little later on, but that's got to be so hard, of having that constant reminder there. But it's also comforting, which is why they offer him to stay and stuff, because it's, like I said, like having a piece of their son there, like just having his friend, like when he shows the mother the picture of Caleb and he's in the picture and everything with him, like, just adds validity to his story. Because like off the bat, if this happened to you in your family and some guy just showed up and said, like, I'm a friend of your son's, like, you're gonna have some fucking questions and suspicions. But like, just having the picture there and having him in the picture would relieve a lot of those concerns. And even the father says, it's like, you know, well, did you think that like he can have the PTSD, as he says? Like, a lot of these soldiers come home with mental health issues. Did you take that into consideration? And like, just the whole way that's handled, and then they just end up accepting him and letting him stay around. And Anna, Maika Monroe's character, is suspicious from like pretty much the get-go with David and everything. But then we have Luke, the brother, who's severely bullied at school. And I've said in a few videos, I cannot stand bullying. It is so disgusting. It's such a big problem. And just seeing these bullies, man, like, get what they get in this movie is so satisfying. Like, absolutely amazing. And, like, when he comes home, Luke, and he has the bruise on his face, and David just says to him and asks him, like, what'd you get hit with? And he's like, no, nothing. I got hit with a football in class. And he's just like, yeah, that could happen. Like, there's so much great lines in this movie. Like, there's some comedic lines in this. Like, this movie just, I can't put, like, this movie into a specific genre. Like, it's just a mixture of thriller, action, comedy. Like, oh, it's so good. And we get David Wong from John Dies at the End, the actor who plays him in here, who's also in Victor Crowley. And then we have Ben, who was in Hatchet, the first Hatchet. So we got two Hatchet alumni in this movie, which is always good to see the two of them. And John Dies at the End. If you guys haven't seen that, absolutely watch that movie and read the book. Like, awesome, awesome stuff. And the score in this movie is excellent. Like, absolutely excellent. Like, one of my favorite scores of the decade. Like I said, this film has a lot of my favorites of the 2010s in it. The score, this next scene, Steven's performance, like, all unreal. Just like the synthesizer score, it's like very 80s, almost Carpenter-esque, like kind of like Halloween 3, it reminds me of a little bit. But it's utilized so fucking perfectly in this movie. Like, I can't say enough about the score. And then, like, the music, which is like the 80s, like, goth synth pop music in here. We got a Clan of Zymox in here, which when I first saw this movie, like, I listened to Clan of Zymox a little bit, like, back in, like, early high school maybe. And just when their music came on near the end of this movie, awesome, like, so good. But we have the bar scene. This scene is so awesome. It's so fucking brutal what this guy does to these bullies, these football players that are bullying Luke. And I love when they first walk in the bar and there's a sign right behind Luke on the door, and for some reason it's on the inside of the door, like, it says no fighting, which is funny because of what's about to happen. But, like, you'd think that's something you want on, like, the outside of the door, like when you're walking in. Nobody walks into a bar and then looks behind them to read signs on the door. Like, that's a little weird. But he sits down and he orders the what the fuck is it, Fireball, and has Luke take a sip, and he's like disgusted by it, and he's like, how do you drink this? And just the whole exchange of dialogue between Luke and David in this movie is so fun to watch. And David orders blowjob shots for the girls that the football players are with, and orders Cosmopolitans for the guys. And, like, the bartender already is like, you sure you want to do this? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. Like, and here's the money, keep the tip. And then when they get the drinks, man, and they see that it's from the table, like with Luke, the kid that they're picking on all the time, and he comes over, that one kid with the Cosmo in his hand, and he's like, thanks for the drink. And he ends up, I don't want it. And he splashes it in David's face, and the music kicks in. Like, oh, you know that this you know this guy is going to murder these people. And he comes real fucking close, man. Like, he just, when he picks up the fucking Fireball and splashes it in the kid's face, and he's like, it burns his eyes, punches him in the face, and then the other kid comes and he just punches him in the face, and he takes his head and slams it into the ground, and he takes the pool cue and he breaks it over the other kid's back, and then he just stomps on his leg and breaks his fucking leg. Dude, it's so awesome. Like, what an amazing scene. Then the best in this, like, the guy with the beer bottle he picks up and runs at David, and he goes to hit him with it, and he just grabs his hand, takes the beer bottle, and smashes it on the kid's face. Like, it is so fucking aggressive. It is so visceral looking. Like, the way that Wingard shot all the, like, violent scenes in this movie is absolutely amazing. Like, and that whole scene, that whole bar scene, It's one of my favorite scenes of the decade, of the 2010s. Like, without a doubt. Like, it is so satisfying, like I said, to see these bullies, these fucking assholes, get the living shit beat out of them by this guy, man. Like, it is so awesome. Such a great scene, man. And then when Anna bangs on the bathroom door, like she has to take a shower, and she thinks that Luke is in there, and she's like, Luke, I need to take a shower. Then just David comes out with just like the towel around him and like the steam coming out, and she's just like, doesn't know what to say. She's just like, yeah, I was gonna take a shower, and like, and she goes in the bathroom and like sighs, like you could tell like she's immediately attracted to him, even though she has her suspicions. Really funny stuff. Then the whole Halloween party, like the set piece, like the sets in this movie and the set dressings and stuff look great. Like, and the lighting at the Halloween party is so good. Like, I can't say enough about how this film is shot. Like, it's so well done. And then we have, like I said, Ben from Hatchet plays Craig, the friend who tries to get David a gun. And we have Kristen's boyfriend and his friend Kristen, who's having this party, and her boyfriend shows up and like starts giving her shit and saying like, you haven't called me, and then I find out that you're having a party, what the fuck. And then he starts getting aggressive with her, and oh god, man, when David just takes his fucking head and just smashes it against the picture on the wall, and he drops immediately to the ground, like, dude, it's so brutal. Like, it looks so good. The way that I can't say enough about the way the violent scenes in this movie are shot. Like, it's so well done, and just like you watch it and you're just like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, this guy would rival Jason Voorhees, because I'm talking about Friday the 13th this week and stuff. I want to see a movie with David up against Jason. Because, I don't know, man, that could be a pretty interesting fight between the two of these characters. Like, he is one unstoppable force, this guy. And Kristen, like, immediately fucks him afterwards. Like, she's so, like, taken aback and, like, surprised by him just knocking her boyfriend out, that she's just like, do you want to see the rest of the house? And then just immediately fucks him after that. That's so funny. Then he asks Craig if he knows where to get a gun. He's like, yeah, I can get you a gun. You got money and everything like that, and sets up that whole gun deal. And then Anna and David's whole car drive home, like, and with the 80s synth pop music that she's listening to, and he's saying that he likes this music, and she's so surprised. She's like, you do? Like, you like this? And he's like, yeah, make me a mix CD. And she makes him a mix CD and stuff. Like, just the dynamic between all the characters in this movie is so well done. Like, really cool stuff. Then Anna ends up calling the military base about David and finding out that he died a week ago, or so they say, that it was like oxygen tanks exploded and there was a fire and like 20 people got killed. And just the way that they like implement that, and like the third act of this movie, you don't see coming at all. Like, at least I didn't. Like, I had no idea where this movie was going. Like, it just seemed like a home invasion movie almost. Like, a stranger shows up at this people's house and he starts killing everybody. That's like as far as I was thinking. Then they start introducing like the military police and stuff, and Lance Reddick's character, and just the direction this movie goes in the third act is fucking amazing. And then Carver, that's Lance Reddick's character's name, mentions the test subjects and stuff, and that if anyone's to find out that David is still alive, then they'd be hung out to dry and get me on the next plane and everything. So it's piquing your interest immediately. Like, what exactly is up with this guy David? Like, what is going on with him that he is so like aggressive but like restrained too, like when he needs to be, and like there's something wrong with this guy, and like you just want to know what the fuck is wrong with him. Like, and just the way I can't say enough about his performance in this. Like, absolutely amazing, his performance in this movie. Like I said, the way he can just go from just a charming, gentle guy to just a menacing, evil force, like at the drop of the hat, like just flipping the switch, and he just changes so perfectly. Like, what a great performance, man. Like, that is so cool. Then the whole scene with the gun deal and stuff, with him going to buy the guns from Craig's friend. And he's like, says that he was in the Navy, and he starts showing him all the guns, and just the way David like takes the handgun apart and everything, and then puts it back together and looks down the sights of it and everything, and then just says like, I'll take them all, like, I'll take all your guns. And he's like, yeah, if you brought enough cash. And he's like, no, I'm gonna kill you. And then and Craig's like, what the fuck, David? And he just takes the gun and shoves it in David's face, and he just pulls it out of his hand and aims it back at the guy and shoots him right in the head. Then Craig starts running for his life, and he's out of bullets, David, so he has to reload. And just that whole shot of Craig running like as far as he could, and then David just reloading the gun and just looking down the sights and just shooting him and nailing him in the head from like 50, 60 feet away. It's got to be like mad far away. Awesome. Like, so good. Like, I can't stop like gushing over this movie. Like, every time I rewatch this movie, I fall more in love with it. Like, every single time. This is Wingard's best movie. Like, for me, without a doubt. Like, don't get me wrong, I love You're Next, like, a lot. And that's one movie I definitely want to talk about too soon, because talking about the whole Friday the 13th series and the Final Girls and everything, You're Next as probably one of the greatest Final Girls in a movie ever. Like, what the fuck's her name? Erin? Is it Erin? It's been a while since I saw You're Next. But just her whole thing at the end, throughout the whole movie, she is like one of the smartest Final Girls in a movie ever. So definitely we'll be talking about You're Next soon. And Spencer, the father in this, is like a complete alcoholic. Like, every scene that he's in is him saying like to David, you want a drink? I'm gonna have a drink. And like, when he comes home and he finds out that his boss, like the regional manager, that he was like really pissed off that he got the job over him, and he's saying that they found his boss dead with his girlfriend, they like overdosed on prescription pills and everything, and saying that like, be careful what you wish for, 'cause I just got promoted to regional manager. And like, just the mom's like reaction to that, she's like, well, that's like, and he's like, yeah, be careful what you wish for. Like, oh, awesome stuff. And he got his promotion. Like, good for him, even though it's not gonna last long. And then this line from David when he's talking to Luke, and he's like, after they're carving the jack-o'-lanterns and stuff, and he gives Luke his awesome knife that he has, and he says to Luke, he's like, listen, you want some advice? He's like, don't let anybody ever pick on you. He's like, you'll carry it for the rest of your life. Like, those kids at school, they're bigger than you, bring a knife to school. If they beat you up and take it away from you, you go around at night to their houses and burn the houses down with their families inside. Holy shit, man, that is such a great line. Like, that is so fucking evil. Like, it's so good. Like, burn their houses down with their families inside. That is so fucking amazing. And then he ends up framing Zeke, Anna's boyfriend, for killing Craig by putting the gun in his van. And then they search his room and find like a bunch of drugs because he's a drug dealer, and he ends up getting arrested and framed for it. Crazy stuff, man. Then his whole story when Anna comes in and says that Craig was killed, and questions David in front of the whole family and says like, he's not David Collins, whoever the hell he is, like, ask for his ID. And he starts saying that he was in special forces, and that he couldn't really talk about it, and that it's a cover story that he died, and that he doesn't have ID, but he has his dog tags. And just the way that he puts his dog tags on the table, and the father looks at them real quick, then he's like, you apologize to David right now, to Anna, and she's like, fuck you, and like walks away. And just the way that David is standing there with the big ass kitchen knife in his hand, and he scoops up his dog tags with the knife, and he's waving it around while he's talking to the parents. That's so fucking hilarious, man. Like, that is so good. It's awesome stuff. And then when he goes to the school after Luke defends himself and gets in the fight at school, and he goes up to Luke before they go in the principal's office, and he's like, what happened? And he's like, well, this kid called me a faggot, so I broke a yardstick on his face. And David's just like, all right, awesome. And then they go into the principal's office. That whole scene such amazing acting. Like, the whole movie, like I said, I can't say it enough. But just his acting in that scene with the principal, and him saying that we have to expel your son, we have a zero tolerance policy on violence and everything, and him just saying, what did he call him? He's like, excuse me, what did he call him? Did he call him a faggot? And he's like, I believe that's the word. He's like, so it's a hate crime. And the principal is like bewildered by that. He's like, what? He's like, it makes that a hate crime. Like a gay kid being bullied at your school, and I want to know how many other times that this kid has been subjected to hate crimes and bullying in your school on your noses. And he finally defends himself, and you want to, what, suspend him? And then the principal is so lost. He's like, suspension we can probably do. He's like, no, you can't. And he's like, I'd love to see when this gets in front of the whole nation and in front of our lawyers. And then just looks at the mother, and he's like, do you want to sue the school? And she's just as fucking lost as the principal is. Like, she can't believe what he's saying. And she's like, and he just snaps back at the principal. He's like, we're suing you in the school board. Dude, so good. Then he walks out, and he's saying that the principal's like bargaining basically and saying like, oh, what about after school detention for a month? And he's like, all right, that's fair. And then he's like, who are you? He's like, I'm just a friend of the family. Like, what a great line, what a great scene, man. Like, that is so good. And just Luke's admiration for David, like, is a little far-fetched. I mean, this kid at this point, I mean, I get it. He has no friends. He feels like a loser. He gets picked on all the time. So he's just aching to have someone to connect to. And he just lost his brother in the war. So I get it. But, like, to the point that, like, he knows and suspects that David killed Craig and framed Zeke and killed fucking, like, multiple people, and the dad's boss and everything, and, like, tells him that Anna's looking into him and everything. Come on, like, seriously, like, who do you know who's that desperate for a friend, who would know that this person is a murderer at this point and would just keep the secret, like, wouldn't say anything and just says, because we're friends, right? And he's like, yeah, of course we're friends. Like, you're that desperate for a friend that you would ignore multiple murderers, like, multiple murders from this guy that he's committed? Like, that's a little out there, but I mean, I get it, like I said, like, his whole, like, position he's in, and, like, how he feels like he doesn't belong anywhere, and he only has friends online, like he says earlier in the movie to David. And, like, I could see where they were going with it. It's just a little far-fetched. Like, there's no way that this person is going, or any person is going to just ignore that this, your friend, quote unquote, is a fucking murderer that you've only known for, like, a few days. Like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way that would happen. Then this whole last third act, man, like when Carver shows up with the military police and shows the picture to the mother of David, and she's like, yeah, he was just here. And then just the shot of, like, the slow motion and when they're putting the laundry sheets up and everything, and the sheet blows up from the wind, and you see David there carrying the laundry basket, and immediately just pulls the gun out and starts shooting, and they start drilling this house with bullets. Like, what a fucking awesome scene. Like, with the whole shooting at this house and trying to kill David. Like, so fucking good. And then, like, he jumps through the window to get away from the bullets and everything, and he gets shot in the leg, and he, like, puts the tourniquet, like, ripped his shirt, puts, like, a makeshift tourniquet on, and then he's hiding under the bed when two of the guys come in, and he shoots one in the foot, and he falls to the ground, and he sees David sitting there with the gun pointed at him. He's like, oh shit, and then he gets shot right in the face. Then the other guy who's walking in the room, David, like, slides out from underneath the bed, like, just slides out with the gun and just shoots him right in the face. He falls out and breaks through the window. What a great fucking sequence. Like, it is so good, man. And then he kills the mother, which is sad, man. And, like, she asks, even says, like, did you even know my son? And he says, like, yes, I did. Like, and he would understand why I have to do what I have to do. So he really did know Caleb, right? Like, anyone disagree with that? Like, I'm pretty, like, he's in the picture with Caleb, so he was definitely in the army with him, and then he was definitely in the special project and shit, like, that the experiment that they did on David, and Caleb also, it's implied, because he says to the mother that Caleb would understand. So Caleb was in the same experiment, I'm assuming, right? Like, I'm pretty sure that's what that implies. But just stabbing the mother with the knife, that sucks, man. That's so sad. And then just how he drives away and shoots the fucking tires out on the military police cars and vans and stuff. Like, this guy is such a perfect shot. Like, it's unbelievable. And then he crashes into the father when he's driving home whistling, and he just like puts his seatbelt on and just crashes right into the car, and like, and he doesn't kill, the guy doesn't get killed, the father, and like just the sigh that David lets out, like when he realizes he's still alive, he's like, oh, like, like, damn it, like now I gotta actually like fucking do more work and kill this guy. Like, that's so funny. Then he goes into the diner, and he's asking Kristen like where Anna is and everything, and he's like, you know what, forget it, and he just shoots her in the heart, and the blood sprays on the pillar behind her. Like, brutal, man. Like, that fucking, but no one reacts in that diner. Like, no one. Like, you just saw some guy walk in and shoot the young waitress in the heart, and no one screams. No one yells for help. No one moves from their booths. Like, they show like a few booths with people sitting there, and they're just looking. Like, no one is reacting in any way. Like, that's so fucking ridiculous. Are you serious? Then he throws the grenades in, and then we hear a little bit of commotion, like people freaking out. Like, it took that. It took grenades being thrown into the diner for people to react, not the young waitress being shot to death. Like, that's so crazy. But that's such an awesome scene too. Like, every scene in this movie is fucking awesome. Like, every single one. And then when they get to the school, and this whole ending is excellent. Like, excellent. Like, God, I can't say enough about this movie. When he's giving, like, when Luke is giving the directions to Carver and Anna, I can't say her name, Anna, through the maze. And he's like, how do I get through this maze? He's like, left, right, straight, right, left, straight, left, right, left. You got that? No, he doesn't. No one is remembering all that shit. Get the fuck out of here. Like, especially in the situation, and after he was just, like, Riddick's character was just in a huge fucking gunfight. Yeah, he's gonna remember those directions to get through that maze. Get the fuck out of here. There's no way. Then David puts the mix CD on, and that whole scene with Clan of Zymox's A Day playing, and with the hall of mirrors they're running through, and that whole chase sequence, and then David with the box cutter killing the detention teacher or whatever, then killing Carver with the box cutter. Like, that whole scene is phenomenal. Like, I absolutely love that scene. Like, so fucking good. Then, and just like I said, like, having Clan of Zymox playing for this scene just elevates it so much. Like, the score in this movie, like I said, I can't say enough about it. It's so fucking great. And let's see, we're at the end here, right? And then she ends up tricking David, like Shining style, Danny Torrance style, by taking her shoes off, and just the whole set dressing, the whole set for the end of this movie, at the Halloween dance and everything they're setting up with the fog machine and the lighting, and just, it's so well shot, man. Like, I can't praise Wingard enough for this movie. Like I said, You're Next is amazing. This is his best film so far. Like, he did the Blair Witch, you know, the third one in the series, which is good. Like, if anyone wants to see my Blair Witch videos, you know, I don't care for the first Blair Witch Project much, but that one was alright. But nowhere near this movie. Like, I'm still waiting for Wingard to make a better movie, and I don't know if he ever will. Like, this is just such a great movie, and tricks him with her shoe, taking her shoes off, and makes him think that she's in one place, and then ends up shooting him from behind. Then he tries killing her and tries choking her to death, and then Luke comes up with the knife that David gave him earlier and stabs him in the back, and then stabs him in the heart, and he says, like, you did the right thing, like, I don't blame you, like, don't be mad, or don't feel bad. Like, that whole thing is great too, man. Then just the whole ending, like, it just ends so abruptly, just like Your Next does. Like, you have the cop comes in at the end of Your Next and, like, gets killed, and you're like, wait, and, like, just boom, cut the credits, how like they're just outside in the ambulance, and the ambulance driver or whatever asks, the paramedic asks, are you guys all right? Yeah, they're fine. Fucking their parents were just murdered. They were just fucking pursued by a fucking psychopathic, experimented on super soldier. But yeah, they're fine. They're good. Fucking what type of stupid question is that? Seriously? Are you guys okay? Fucking, then you hear like the firefighter say there's two bodies inside, and you know that it's the detention teacher and Carver. And then just seeing the firefighters come out, and you see the last one limping, and you see Anna looks up and looks over at the firefighter, and he turns back, and it's David in there, and she's just like, what the fuck? And then it just credits, and then the guest comes up. What a fucking fantastic movie, man. Like like I said, every time I see this movie, I just remember how much I love this movie. Like I'll forget as like a year or two goes on, and then like I'll think of it every now and then, or someone brings it up. And that's another thing, I don't hear this movie talked about nearly enough as it should be. Like I almost never hear this movie being brought up. Like I hear You're Next brought up all the time. I hear the Blair Witch that Wingard directed brought up all the time. I never hear this movie brought up and talked about, which is a fucking crime, man. Like, this movie is absolutely fantastic. It's one of my favorite films from the 2010s. It has the bar scene is one of my favorite scenes from the 2010s too, including Cabin in the Woods, when they hit the purge button and all the monsters come out of the elevators. That's another one of the greatest scenes of that decade, man. That is such a great scene. That's another movie I gotta do real soon, because I love Cabin in the Woods. What a great movie that is. But The Guest, man, like, so fucking good. What a fantastic movie. What a great effort from Wingard. And like I said, I'm still waiting for a better movie from him. And I don't know if he'll ever make one. Like, this is so good and so much fun and so brutal and hilarious at times. Like, it has everything, this movie. So let me know if you guys have seen this movie. I mean, like I always say, if you watch a whole half hour of me talking about it and you haven't seen it, fucking I don't get it. But let me know, for you who have seen it, what you think of this movie. Like, how does it rank for you with Wingard's other movies? Like, do you love this movie? Did you not care for it? Which everyone, I always say, 100% entitled to your opinions, but I will never understand how someone cannot enjoy the hell out of this movie. It is so fun. But alright, guys, I think I'm going to have Orphan First Kill up in a little bit, because I actually went and saw it last night. So I'm going to have that up probably, and then continue with Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, Part 5, after that. So, alright guys, see you in a little bit. Wherever you're from, wherever you're from, yeah, that's right, wherever you're from, hope you're having a good morning, night, whatever, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.